Welcome back. You're watching Meet the Diplomat. Now, if we talk of the nuke partnership that we have developed, India and America are nuke partners now. How does Canada look at it?
Canada is a very peaceful country. We always, Canada has always advocated the peaceful work, and we have been involved in the peacekeeping missions all over the world. I think India, to a certain extent, has also said non-aligned nations. We look at very favorably from that point of view, but the agreement that India and the US has reached. And Canada will be very supportive of those kind of agreements.
Canada is happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, my role is the provincial role, but this is more federal responsibility. I think the federal minister should be able to answer this question much better. But generally speaking, we appreciate any peacemaking efforts.
There have been times when the relationship between India and Canada got strained because India did nuclear testing. How has the views changed now?
I think, with time, all the views changes. India, as I said before, is becoming a major economic power, and every country in the world is taking notice of what India has to do. But at the same time, every country has to have its own principles on which it needs to stand and take stands once in a while what they believe in. Like India does take stands, US does take stands, and so is Canadian. Canada is an independent country.
India has also shown a little unhappiness towards its long-term strategic partner, that is America, on its Iraq policy, because it can create major problems globally. What is your stand on this?
We are supporting the position that US has taken. Like the Canadian government supports that position. I mean, at the provincial level, we can't answer those questions to you, but I think the Canadian government in general supports the position that the US government has taken on the Iraq. But sometimes, we are not really aware of what is the information available to the countries, like what information is available to the US on which they made the decision, what information is available to the India on which they made the decisions. So we are we are just standing back and trying to assess who is right, who is wrong, which sometimes is not easy to do unless you have all the information available to you.
But America's policy on Iraq, do you think it is justified? Will it not create more problems? What is your view?
I think, you can make an argument on both sides. But my feeling is, in the long haul, as a Canadian, my personal opinion is, we need to respect the human rights issues all over the world, and we need to do everything to respect whatever we can do, to treat people as human beings.
And India has been a victim of terrorism, and Canada also feels the wave of Islamic terrorism. We both might be feeling the same pain, but how can we unite to combat terrorism together?
I think we need to unite, all the countries need to be united to combat terrorism. Doesn't matter which source it comes from. So how can we unite? We need to work together, and if we can work together and curb terrorism when it happens, then it will stop eventually.
But it is often said that the terrorists of India, they find shelter in Canada.
Actually, I'm not sure that, some of these are perceptions. I'm not sure they are realities, and but I have no basis to really comment on this issue. Like these are some of the things that people throw out there sometimes. But I don't know where the bases are for all these things.
But don't you think on cross-border terrorism there should be taken some steps by the world, like together to? What sort of steps do you think we can take?
I think all the leaders need to work together, because I think if there's a threat to the human beings in any way, shape or form, an ordinary person, I think then we need to all unite together and say what steps we need to take in order to protect human beings.
India and Canada, are we both thinking of doing something of this sort?
I think it's up to the very senior leaders to really think about it, and I'm sure they're all concerned about it. The Prime Minister of India has indicated even today that like we all need to treat we are one big family, and we all need to work together to make sure that the one family stays intact.
And in the current scenario, if you see of geopolitical system, there's a lot of trend of strategic partnership. Does Canada look at India as one of its strategic partner?
Absolutely. I think there's no question about that. India represent an enormous opportunity for us as Canadians. It's an enormous opportunity for us, because I represent the provincial government, it represents a huge opportunity to us as Ontarians. And that's why the Premier has taken, taken time out of his very hectic and busy schedule to visit India and actually showcase some of the industry in India. But as I said before, I think the trade is a two-way relationship, and we need to nurture it all the time.
And in between, you also mentioned one of the very important points, that cultural relationship that needs to be focused more upon. What should be done on this?
I think if we look at the people who are migrated from India to Canada, and if we use them as the resource, then actually cultural ties can be strengthened anyway. But if you go to Canada, I mean, we celebrate differences. What we're saying is, you have your own culture, but let's celebrate the differences rather than finding faults with each other's culture. Let's work together get to know each other.
You're saying it's this kind of differences is there?
I mean, the differences are always there in the cultures, right? But if we can actually celebrate our differences, then it becomes a much more harmonious society. For example, in Diwali is being celebrated in our legislature. Diwali is celebrated in our actually federal legislature as well. And the same thing is with Baisakhi, the Sikh Baisakhi. The functions are being held all over. And Diwali is celebrated in all our schools. So then it's not only that the Indian kids get to know about Diwali, actually all students get to know Diwali, and then people can understand each other's culture.
There are more avenues and there are more dimensions we need to touch together. In a sense, we have to kill our differences and celebrate differences. Then we can move hand in hand together and have a better relationship. Thanks a lot for talking.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That's all for today. Yeah. See you next week again in Meet the Diplomat. Till then, bye-bye.